Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday's Read in the Red. What a beautiful sunny day it is today. I hope you had a great weekend, blessed with the sun and the rain. Mark chapter 14 and verse 7. For you always have the poor with you, and whenever you want, you can do good to them, but you do not always have me. Jesus doesn't have a problem giving an answer to the question in terms of the thoughts going on in people's minds, a criticism that somehow this woman had abused the privilege of having this perfume, which was worth a lot of money. And so their reasoning was, well, it could have been sold for the poor, and the poor could have benefited, which of course it could have done. But the reality is this, that Jesus says, you can always bless the poor. You can always reach out to the poor and enrich the lives of the poor. And it's true that God never forgets the poor. He always remembers the poor, and he is working for the good of the poor. If ever we lose sight of the poor and the vulnerable, if we ever forget those in need, then we have lost sight of the eyes and the heart of our God who is in heaven. Don't be misled. God is never going to forget the poor, and he has provided in the earth sufficient for all. The problem with the poor is that the rich do not share the blessing, but they build barns and store their wealth for themselves, even to the point whereby the poor are dying all over the earth because the rich and the greedy are keeping for themselves those things that God gave to share in our world. Jesus says you will always have the poor, so make sure in one sense you remember the poor, because you can always bless them. But the point of this verse is that you do not always have me. And what a truth that was. Can you imagine just being in the atmosphere of Jesus' voice, being with him, not saying anything at all, a precious sense of value upon a God encounter in Jesus. Even the demonized man, after he'd been delivered, sat there talking to Jesus. I mean, he was doing the talking. I would have been doing the listening to Jesus, because everything he ever said was beautiful. Every word he spoke comes from the very essence of the heart of the Father. That's why I love doing Reading the Red, because it's the very words of Jesus recorded in the scriptures. And you can't get any more pure than the words. Every drop of word that dropped from his mouth is beautiful in every way. God has given us, the church, the privilege of the Bible to enable us to understand his word, the promises, the revelations, the prophetic, wonderful, God's precious word. Enjoy God. Thank you for joining me. Be blessed. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.